Start?
I'll happily start, yeah, why not?
I don't mind.
You don't mind?
Yeah, I don't
I
mind.
don't mind.
It is the Irish Whiskey Society.
People will see our Guinness in shot, but alas.
I've got mine hidden behind the water jug.
Oh, damn it, man.
You need a prop.
I do. I'll place mine just ahead of yours.
It's a strategic place. We need a water jug other side, yeah.
Yeah, sure, will be like.
Yeah, clean it up.
It's going to take all my willpower not to go walking around, because I love going for a wander.
Yeah.
Sorry, my friend.
There'll probably be lots of throwing shapes from me as well.
Yeah. That's great. We love a bit of hand movement.
Hey! We're going to kick off.
Excuse me, sir. Very well.
Thank you all for coming. This is Martin's show, actually, but he chose to be in New York instead. Delighted to have David and Brian from Titanic here. I'm sure all of us are kind of pretty much aware of what seems to be an explosion of whiskey innovation in politically correct term Ulster / Northern Ireland / the guys up there. Or was it the person who said last time? The Nordies?
The Nordies.
But I think sometimes we kind of forget that Belfast was a real powerhouse of Irish whiskey. Depending on who you talk to, even above Dublin and the heyday of Irish whiskey. And so it's really great to see distilling back in Belfast. We actually have the other one coming at a later date.
Of course.
This
Which
year.
again, another fantastic thing
Yeah.
as well that it's happening.
And I have to say, having been to Belfast and having visited the distillery, I thoroughly recommend you go and see it, because it is actually one of the most beautiful still houses I have ever seen and had the pleasure of walking around. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to you guys. We're going to do the top three first, take a break and come back. I will warn you, and we'll warn you again later, the last one is a new make off the still rather than before going to the barrel. That's why there's not very much of it, because it might be a little bit irresponsible of us to give you 82% proof.
You'll be after.
So, over to you boys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Folks, thank you so much for having us this evening. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. My name is David. I'm the Global Brand Ambassador at Titanic Distillers. And again, when we had this opportunity to come and speak to you all this evening in Dublin, it was something that we just couldn't pass up. It's wonderful to be here. And I know what you're thinking straight away. Who is this English guy coming to the Irish Whiskey Society, telling us all about, I try and hide it as best I can do you know what I mean? But yes, I am. But for me, it's this is why I bring along one of our wonderful tour guides and perhaps our resident historian as well. So we also have Brian Cunning from the distillery here as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you, David. So, my name's Brian, and I'm one of the tour guides and brand ambassadors at the distillery. And I think when I first heard of Titanic Distillers, I was very kind of, oh my God, somebody cashing in a tragedy. But then when I saw what they were trying to do in terms of preservation of history, and also tasted the spirit, the premium blend, which for me blew my mind, because normally I'd be a bit of a snob when it comes to whiskey. I'd be like, 10-year-old single malt is like my breakfast whiskey. What, you've not heard of breakfast whiskey down here?
We have breakfast whiskey, don't you worry.
So yeah, for me, it really is a place I think is doing great things, because they're not repeating the old or just trying to imitate what's gone before. They've captured the heart and soul of what it was to actually be an Irish nation producing the first spirit. Ushkabaha, the water of life, it comes from here. They say monks brought it from Arabia in terms of perfume, but I think it goes way back before that. And I think what the distillery is doing, that blend of the old with the new, and innovation towards what we hope to bring forward in terms of that past with a historical new feature, is what we're really doing there. And as Niall said, the distillery in itself is a piece of art, because you see the distillery nestled alongside, like the brand new, with the old history we're trying to preserve as part of our mission statement. And I think it's those echoes of remembering the past are very much what will take us into the future. So I hope you have a great night tonight, and I'm really excited to be here. And we'll talk a bit more about more history and stuff, but first I'm going to let David take care of the reins, because he's going to be my timekeeper. Because if we get down the history rabbit hole, we could be here all night, folks.
It's a good rabbit hole to be in, to be fair. It's a wonderful one, it really is. It's wonderful being able to get our tour guides in as well. It's very much a big part of what we do. Myself, folks, I have been in the whiskey industry for around 6 years at this point. My career in terms of whiskey, my whiskey time started a little bit before it, but in terms of whiskey, I was once the UK brand ambassador for Pernod Ricard in terms of Scotch whiskey, so looking after Chivas Regal, the Glenlivet, Aberlour. And that came at a time for me when I really found my palate moving towards those Speysides, those Highlands, those fruity characteristics, and really getting that profile behind me in terms of Scotch. Now, do not get me wrong, I'm still an advocate for Scotch whiskey. However, what I find these days is that the profile of a beautiful Irish whiskey very much fits into what I want to be drinking and what I want in my glass, and more importantly, what I want to talk about. It's a fascinating history, and one that very much is derived by so many different eras and so many different peaks and some troughs as well, as we all know in this room. And again, look, hey, we are all professionals in this room, but what I do want to do at any session that we have is have a good old conversation about whiskey at the end of the day. It's one of the most exciting things to talk about. It's one of the most passionate things we talk about every single time we all sit in a room together like this. So we invite in those conversations, we invite in that energy, and we invite in those exact things to really bring to life this whole concept of Titanic Distillers. So for me, I joined the brand back in July last year, and in a similar case to you, Brian, I probably turned up and sort of in my head just went, okay, so what is the idea here? What wants to happen? We've got this beautiful place, this beautiful distillery, this fantastic story. We know for as early as 2007, we only really had 3 distilleries in Ireland. So there's been that massive boom at this time. Is this another case of those things? Is this another one of those situations where we're trying to capitalize on something at the moment? And then you get into the very boroughs of the significance of place where we are on the map. You consider Belfast, and you consider the city of Belfast, especially in the turn of the 19th century. At this time, we're talking about 6.7 million gallons of whiskey being produced in the city of Belfast alone. Now, again, it does go back to who you speak to, of course, but many would derive this being half, or in some cases more than half, the total number of whiskey, quote unquote, being produced on the island of Ireland at this time. So a hugely significant place on the map. We look at 18 different distilleries, we look at bonded warehouses, and we look at this industry, this thriving industry that very much disappears overnight. A very similar industry in Belfast is the shipping and industrial part of Belfast as well, where we see at its peak companies like Howland & Wolff employing around, and other companies employing around 35,000 people to shipbuilding and labouring in the city of Belfast alone. It is huge. And at a similar time, these things fall into fruition in a big way. So we talk about these things in this relevant history, and when we look at Titanic Distillers as well, we look at this. What happens when we really bring those ideas back to life? What happens when we celebrate those wonderful industries, those big pioneering aspects of Belfast history, and not just Belfast history, the Island of Islands history as well, and it's a very global history at that. What happens when we bring those to life and we celebrate them? This brand is very much looking to carry the weight that we have on our shoulders from a very significant name that we have. We'll go into more details why that name exists, but more so it's about remembering the history that came before us, and that is how we signify who we are as a brand and the conversations we have not just with us all in the room this evening, but with conversations all around the world. So with that in mind, I learned a long time ago, folks, not to set a load of whiskey and other drams in front of people and not let them drink it. Shall we look at discussing our potching as a starting point? Yeah? Everyone good? Yes,
Yeah.
Wonderful stuff. So potching. I have got the understanding that we have quite an educated room about potching. Does anyone want to talk to me about the category while we are on the room? And remember, safe space, conversations are flowing. Feel free to talk out whatever you want to talk. What is a potching?
It's a whiskey.
It's a whiskey. The genesis of what we might call whiskey, but very much the idea of what we look at as whiskies in the past. Potching derives from the term pota, little pots. We are talking about small-scale distillations happening on the island of Ireland and what we might refer to as quote-unquote moonshine at an earlier time. Now, it's a little bit different in these days. As far as I'm aware, looking at all my legislative history through different government bodies, the definition of potching comes alive in 2008 in the modern day in Ireland, and in Northern Ireland it's as recent as 2015. Essentially, folks, as we look at potching today, it is something that needs to be distilled with intent. This isn't simply new make spirit that's been cut to a different level and then bottled and then established a different way. This is something that is made with the intention of being what we call a potching. So it still owns on to that idea. Our potching here is particularly derives from being distilled in a very, very small batch. We're currently looking at a 40-litre sort of home brewing batch that we do for this. It's very, very small production. It's not released yet, but it will be released in due course. And what we have here essentially is a wonderful little mix of distilling malts. We have Vienna malts in here as well, and we have golden naked oats. So when we go for our tasting, folks, I know we are talking to a room full of professionals here and whiskey connoisseurs, but we have a little nose and a little taste at the same time. We'll talk about what we nose, we'll talk about what we taste, and guess what? Here's the thing. There's no such thing as a wrong answer in the session, okay? We talk about what we can see in the glass. So lovely and clear to start. We're at 48% here, folks. Let's get our nose in there to start. What are our initial concepts here, folks?
Oh, and any thoughts or inputs from online as well, they can share their...
Absolutely online. Please dive straight in. Let us know what you're thinking and what you're nosing and tasting at home. Hello, by the way. Hope you're all well. Hope you're good.
Kind of classic malt,
It's got a wonderful characteristic to it, hasn't it?
but I've gone ahead and drunk it and it's remarkably sweet.
We talk about those.
Yeah.
We talk about those oats in there as well, perhaps giving a little bit more of that sweetness.
So what is the composition? Put again?
So the composition, so Damien hasn't given the percentages, he's keeping that in his little back now there. I did try and press him for it today. But what I can tell you is the yeast combinations we have on this is the exact same as we have in our single malts. So when we come onto the single malt and assess what we're tasting in our malts, we have the exact same yeast compositions, and we have the same fermentation time as well. We will do no less than 140 hours of fermentation
But
on
is
the
it
potching.
barley and some oats?
Barley and oats in here, yeah. Two types of barley. We have our distiller's barley, and we have our Munich.
Malted.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Is it in a bottle or a...
Yes, yeah, just a rudimentary pot still at the moment. The ambition is to go double. This is a double distillation.
Okay.
What we will do is move that onto a wider scale at the moment. So we have a full release of this coming out. This actually did pick up New Make Unaged of the Year at Icons of Whiskey Ireland in the past few weeks. And with that, Damien actually did get Craft Distiller of the Year as well. So we are talking about an award-winning potching right here. Anyone who follows the London Spirits competition, we just picked up a gold 95 with this potching here as well. So wonderful characters on the nose, big and bright, perhaps a little bit of anise in the background for me, just that little bit of perhaps fennel or anise in the back note. And let's have a little taste together. Folks, it's an absolute pleasure for us both to hear. Thank you so much. Sláinte.
Sláinte.
Good health.
The licorice does come through.
Great licorice.
Yeah.
Almost like a peppermint kind of thing. How are we here, folks? At home, please dive in. Let us know what you're tasting here.
Has anybody tried to actually just inhale it into the mouth.
No, never.
And this is why I brought him.
No, but rather than drink it, I always find to do it first. So we used to call it a dry toot in the north, where you'd just inhale the spirit. Because the volume of the alcohol, especially in poaching, could give you a hint what's going on.
Yep.
Especially, like I've drunk a lot of sacred water, and with the more heady spirits, you can kind of get the taste profile coming through without even drinking it.
Absolutely. It's another good point as well. Even when you're nosing, open your mouth as well. Do you know what I mean? Like the predominant of what we do taste is on the nose. We do get a residual a little bit on the mouth as well. So feel free to open your mouths as well when you do have a nose of the products, and just see what differences it makes. The sweetness is there, isn't it? Yeah. For me, I start to get like, we talked about this anise before and that residual sweetness that's perhaps coming from the oats. And also remember, we've got a double distillation here as well. We've got a lot of flavor in the back note here. But for me, it's that little bit of peppermint that just kind of does something there. Like it just really excites. A nice little spice as well, isn't it? Who's, I believe we've tried poaching in the room before. I'm pretty sure everyone does. I believe that the last session we had, maybe there was a couple of poachings down, was there?
A few times ago, we had Mickle.
Mickle, that was it. Yeah.
They had 2 poachings.
Perfect. And that's it. And there's so much that can be done with it. And for me, I think it's a great exploration. We talk about being a new brand. We talk about someone. Our distillery only opened in 2023. We are very, very new, folks. But what I do want to always maintain is for us to have this testament of place in the Irish whiskey story, we need to make sure we are putting our nod to things like this. And again, any Irish whiskey distillery that wants to come on board and obviously, really sort of like take that story forwards, I think it's a great opportunity to really acknowledge that there is history there. We talk about Belfast, we talk about how much history there is for us to explore, not just in whiskey, but in industry and other cultural elements as well. What a fantastic opportunity to do it, in my opinion. How would we drink this amongst us in the room? Would we drink this neat? Would we do it with a bit of a chaser? Would we mix? Please.
It's still a fairly niche product. How are you marketing it? I know in the US, the number of the brands that are moving more towards the cocktail.
Yes. Yeah, for us, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So again, in terms of that at-home consumer, it's obviously going to be that different conversation around that point of difference, that niche that's going to be a part, as we just mentioned, perhaps alongside a beer, perhaps as we go into summer, something to pair it with like a nice little pale ale, that kind of thing. Something to, might be explored outside the glass. But we are looking at cocktails as well, as a big part of it. So for me, I'm not sure if you remember, like with the on-trade, probably around 5, but probably, no, more like pre-COVID, Aquavit had a moment. I'm not sure if it followed over here necessarily in Ireland, but certainly over in England, Aquavit had a moment with bartenders. People were making daiquiris, they were making like wonderful cocktails of it. And it was just a point where, for me, the at-home consumer loves to be the person who's most in the know. We love sharing that information. We love being able to say, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you tried this? Bartenders are just the same. And just sometimes on a bigger scale. It has to work for them, of course, and it has to be a great element to impose flavor on. That's why Aquavit so well. For me, poaching can actually hold that place and can facilitate. Listen, again, I'm going to say this as someone who absolutely adores tequila. You sub this out in a margarita for tequila, you have a fantastic drink ahead of you. You really do, because that peppermint, think of what we get from the agave. We get that vegetable note, we get that wonderful rawness. We get that here as well. So again, we're talking about a very early product, a Genesis product here, before whiskey we're talking. But we're talking about something that very much has its place in 2026, and that's the conversation we'd like to have. What's wonderfully is in a Paloma, in a margarita as well. But again, for me, just beautiful in the glass. And it's a testament to Damien as well. So we'll go into our products and our wider range, but to see things coming out from the stills, getting their awards, is for us just a great emotion of what we'll do as we move forward.
One thing that I'd like to say in terms of the poaching, we just recently started a connoisseur tour, and you've all heard of an Irish coffee. So it's your coffee hot with a wee touch of whiskey in it. Well, have you ever had a Belfast coffee? Well, in the dockyard, in the shipyard, sometimes the flasks just didn't hold up in the cold of the day. And so the coffee would be cold near the end of the shift, but you needed something to keep you going. And there is nothing better than a Belfast coffee with a drop of poaching in it. And we do serve that as one of our signature serves, a Belfast coffee with cold coffee, but with poaching in it to warm you up.
Any time of day is fine. But it's a great point as well, and it goes back to that thing. When we talk about, especially on the docks, there might be what we call whiskey around on the docks at this time, and it's very significant to our story, which we'll start going into in a second. But when we talk about whiskey, it's probably more likely going to be a poach as opposed to anything. We're talking about the turn of the century here as well. More than likely, this is what we're going to get. And one of the things I love hearing when you talk to folk around Ireland about this, you go, oh yeah, there's, remember when I was a kid that there's in the refrigerator, there was a bottle of lemonade that said not lemonade on it, basically, yeah? And it is this thing, and I just love that history, and it's still such a relevant history, isn't it? You know what I mean? So even though we're looking at bringing this forward and, being able to have this conversation, we want that sort of bit of fun about it as well, that bit of heart, It's, like I say, this is 48%, it's not going to be that 80 plus that you might get in those lemonade bottles, but hopefully it certainly delivers on its flavour as well for you all, and hopefully it's a bit of an interesting one. What do we all think, folks? Any thoughts, any conversations? Wonderful. Wonderful, yes. It's got a great florality to it, hasn't it? It's just very bright. And again, if it's something for this time of year.
Yeah, very summery.
Yeah. We talk about recruitment to the category, don't we? And perhaps this is a way for folk who enjoy their tequilas, enjoy their vodka, enjoy their gins, like who might want to explore a little bit of a way into our Irish whiskey conversation.
Are you trying to have that with like a tonic over ice,
Hey, listen, have we got any left? Maybe afterwards. But again, this is that would have been perfect. Make a note of that for next time. But that's it. That's. But these are the conversations we want to have. Those narratives, because it just takes a conversation like that to really let it flow. And again, look, hey, we're here representing Titanic Distillers. It's not just us. For me, the one thing I love about the Irish whiskey category, folks, is this. And again, whiskey in general, as a category, has this, but particularly with Irish whiskey, a win or a success for any distillery is a win for the category. And that's what we're all in this room to talk about at the end of the day, folks. I think we'll all agree. Perfect. Well, wonderful. Great start. Thank you so much, folks. Such a good health, my friend. So, I wanted us to sort of like...
Sorry, very ignorant question.
No, please.
How do you define poaching as against whiskey?
Sorry?
How do you define poaching as against compared with whiskey?
Perfect. So again, we'll talk about that unaged. So whiskey itself matured, in terms of Irish whiskey, distilled and matured on the island of Ireland for 3 years and a day. So essentially in wood such as oak. For this, essentially, you are basically doing the pure distillation, cutting down to level, and then sending on its way. But more to the point, as far as the legislation is concerned, this has to be done with intent. This can't just be your whiskey and then an unaged version of your whiskey, basically. So if you are a distillery producing a poaching, this has to be done as its own distillation run, basically. So say, for example, we've got our new make at the end. We couldn't just take the new make, bottle it, like water it down to 48% and then put it in a bottle and slap a poaching label on it. That wouldn't be legally defined as poaching in this level.
No.
I don't think so. No, the net casts quite wide with the HMRC. But again, it's that's how I'd say. So look at that, unaged, no oak influence, and then.
How many weeks old is this?
So this essentially is not very old at all. This will literally be taken up still. You can, to my understanding, you can age up to I think 6 months. Yeah? You can't go any further than that.
How do you keep the flavour profile? I mean, if you're making 40 litres, that's not a lot.
Not a lot at all. So
the colour of the wind on the length of the string, blue.
There's a lot of this going on basically, and seeing what happens. So I did. I adore speaking to Damien, our head distiller. I really do. But every now and then you'll get an answer where he just goes, "I just knows it and I see what happens," and it's a very distiller's, brewer's answer. You know what I mean? And you just go, that's just not going to fly in a tasting session. You know what I mean? But I have to give him credence on that. That is essentially it. And like you said, it is test the wind and see what happens. But there is also with that point, it's a very valid point that's being made. it is why we are looking to, I think next week or the week after, looking to move this production into the stills. So keep in mind, the product you're tasting now is not open for retail. It's not available. You are tasting this before retail. There'll be a couple of those that we're tasting today, folks.
I mean, it's literally a still that size.
Exactly.
You know?
So that's
With a dodgy looking condenser.
yeah. One, sometimes you got to hold it. It's in line.
It's definitely in line with the old worm tube.
Yeah.
But that'd be the best answer I can give you at this time. It's very much down to the skill set Damien has. But once it's on the larger distillation, there's more liquid to play with at the end result. And essentially that consistency becomes a lot more easier to deal with, basically with more liquid across boards. Any other questions on the potching, folks?
Just wondering
Please.
about the subcategory of premium versus generic.
Mm.
What qualifies it in your mind to be here premium?
Is the marketing team here? Look.
It tastes premium. Nobody said that.
Listen, I'll get a soundbite for the marketing team. Very good. Look.
Well, you probably only have to look to prior 2007 when it was still illicit or illegal, and the stigma around potching and that history. I mean, from 1661 when it was made illegal, it really got a lot of dissonance in terms of, it was an inbred thing, it was something you did in the dark of night, and it kind of put a kind of onus on the spirit as being not true, not good. And that was just because commercial whiskey became available and they could actually regulate and tax it. And yet some of the potching makers probably had more skill and more craft and more honesty in the delivery of their product. And it would have been in every household. And it was our ancestral spirit. It was the spirit that we all grew up with. I don't know about you, but whenever I was a young kid, a bottle of Lucozade for £2, and it was a special bottle of Lucozade. And it made the difference to Friday night.
It was also the spirit of County Armagh.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant.
I love that.
Thank you.
No, it's a perfect value.
Premium because saying Parliament in Northern Ireland might be a bad thing to say.
That would be an ecumenical matter.
Do we have a team for that as well? Yeah. But yes, valid. But it derives to that whole thing. You're positioning ourselves, a bit of marketing as well, but obviously, hopefully the premium aspects reflect on the quality of the liquid as well.
I suppose on a last note for me, I've been with the distillery before they opened in October 2022. And when the distillery finally opened, upon the first few days of Damien distilling, I seen him a bit looking anxious, and he's a really cool guy. He's really measured, and he's an Armagh man. So he knows his stuff. And I said, "Are you all right? Is something wrong?" And he goes, "It's not working." And I was like, "How can you tell?" He goes, "Well, this is supposed to be a turnkey distillery. You turn the key and it just does it. But you can't really do that with a distillery because the whole place could blow up." I mean, he could control it with his mobile phone in his bath, but he's such a hands-on guy.
Yeah.
But the thing he said to me was, "I like to rely on the old methods: sight, taste, touch, colour." And I knew Titanic Distillers was in good hands as soon as he said that. Because it turned out the machines had been calibrated wrong, and we would have lost product in droves if he hadn't have noticed from those hands-on craft element skills that he brings to the table. And that's why I would personally say I love being at Titanic Distillers.
There, see, thanks for that. I might just go home after that. To be honest with you. Well, listen. I'm aware of time, folks. I know we've got a few drams to go through, but a great start, hopefully, and one that we talk about ethos, and hopefully you all recognise that for us at Titanic Distillers, the new distillery 2023, it's about acknowledging what came before as well. But I think it's important to talk about where we are now. So, Brian, I think for us, a little bit of introduction into the brand itself, where we started, what the vision is, and we can lead into our premium Irish whiskey.
Yep.
As well.
So where we're actually situated is the historic dock where the Olympic class of ships were more or less built. We often talk about the Titanic Museum and the Titanic Slipway, but when they were launched from there, they're more like a canoe, like a flat bottom boat, no working parts. They were dragged down the river at high tide and brought into Thompson Dock and Thompson Pump House, where we're situated. And that's where the propellers were fitted, the hull was painted. And it was commissioned in 1902 to build the Olympic class of ships. Now, when we talk about Titanic, yes, but Olympic was the first one launched. But Titanic came after, but the pair of them were built side by side on the same gantry. And that's why they're often called sister ships. Now, then for 10 months it sat in what we call the deep water off a jetty, because it was cheaper in the jetty than it was in the dock to actually build the ship, and the weight of the water could be holding the weight of the ship. When it was brought back in, that's when they officially descaled it or graved it. That's why it's called a graving dock. They descale the barnacles and things that lie underneath if a ship is too static, not moving in the water for too long. You have to do this to all sea vessels to keep them seaworthy. And it creates drag, lowers the fuel efficiency. But once that was all scaled away, they repainted the hull and Olympic was launched. Titanic then was sitting in the dock, just having had her hull graved. They were about to paint her and calibrate the engines, but Olympic came home missing a propeller. And they basically thought, well, it only took us 2 weeks to fit 3 propellers at 39 tons apiece and paint the entire hull on both ships the first time. And they thought rather than tie both ships down for 6 weeks and hold no money, they'd park Titanic on the side because she was about 4 weeks away from completion and bring Olympic in for repairs, hoping to get her out earning coin again. What should have taken a week lasted 8 weeks. That led to the overall delay of Titanic's launch. The ice had melted to come further south, and we know what happened next. Now, if you talk to Belfast people, or a lot of people about Belfast back then in history, they'll say it was an industrial powerhouse. And if you ask them which industries powered it, they'll say shipbuilding and linen. And they were 2 of the big ones all over the country. But in Belfast, prolifically. Entire family households, entire parts of the city worked in those businesses. The average household size was 11 people to a house. Kids left school at 13 and were put straight to work. And all the fathers and sons were platers, riveters, culpers, shipwrights. They worked the dock. All the mothers and daughters were yarn spinners, loom weavers, thread bearers. They worked the linen mill. But Belfast had a secret history, a long lost history that's long forgotten because of the stigma attached to it. Whiskey. In 1899, Belfast had 18 working distilleries. In 1900, the entire country of Ireland had 1,256 legal working distilleries. In rugby, we were one country. In whiskey, we were in one country. And at that same year, we exported 8 million gallons of whiskey from Belfast alone. 6.6 million gallons of that whiskey was made in Belfast. And that's just the stuff we sold to other people. Doesn't include what we drunk ourselves. Imagine, at the height of Harland and Wolff's golden period of shipbuilding, they employed between 30,000 to 50,000 men a day at the height of the shipbuilding industry in Belfast, the golden age of shipbuilding. At that same point in time in history, the whiskey trade in Belfast alone employed more people than shipbuilding and linen combined. Sadly, with social, political, economic downturn, as they call it, we suddenly had a great mudslide in the history of whiskey. Home rule, partition of the island, World War I, World War II, and finally prohibition in America saw Irish whiskey brought to its knees. And by the time we got to 1980, we had only 2 distilleries left in the entire country. Bushmills in the north and Middleton in the south. So I'm really proud to say, for the first time in over 90 years, we had the first whiskey distillery back in Belfast, bringing back the true spirit of Belfast. And with that, I think we're going to see new things and a new revolution. We're having a renaissance in Irish whiskey at the minute. There's 48 distilleries on the island. 5 of those came online with us, and I think there's another 5 predicted. Obviously, market and everything else might have changed at that point, but that's my last figures I know. But I think it bodes well for Irish whiskey. And I think we look more towards the future of recapturing the spirit of everybody with our sacred spirit. Mm-hmm. And with that, we'll lead into our next one.
Wonderful stuff. It's beautiful, isn't it? Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that, my friend. So, look, number 1, folks, is our first whiskey that we're going to taste today. So we tried our punch and we're trying a whiskey. This is our premium Irish whiskey. This is our blend, folks. So this is the first thing we produced. The ones above you who heard the earwig that we are 2023 as our distillery opening. We'll have put 2 and 2 together. Something that we're very open about here. This is whiskey from Great Northern Distillery in Dundalk. Okay, so the reason I talk about this is because it is part of the narrative that we have. What we wanted to do is straight out the bat land what we wanted to do, and have that sort of motion of intent for our distillery. Now we will taste our new make. You will taste what our ambition is in that new make at the end. But what I want you to think about when we taste these products as we go through them is what we intend to do as our makeup. So the levels we set here will define what our spirit looks like as our own products come into them. Does that make sense for everybody? Wonderful stuff. So we start with a blend. Now, for me, blends are just, if we talk about distillation as a science, blending is an art form, okay? And for this to really embody the spirit of Belfast that Brian just mentioned, there had to be a certain element to set it aside. And those upon us, we look at on the eye there, we've got a wonderful golden hue, quite light. We can suggest maybe a good amount of grain in here. We go to the nose, folks, and what is the standout for us in the room? And online as well. Hello, folks.
Cocoa powder, yeah.
Bit of cocoa powder.
Tobacco.
Beautiful. Tobacco. Wonderful characteristics, folks. I love this.
But there is sweetness as well.
Has anybody tried the old?
You obsessed? I am. Wonderful. So we've got cocoa powder, we've got tobacco, we've got those great, almost like that sort of dust, almost like that wonderful like sort of smoke going on sort of thing. Do we get that sort of light, smoky character as well?
Like an orange.
Pencil shade.
Nice orange, like the zest, the pith, the flesh.
Oil and zest.
Wonderful. So yeah, that's it. We're defining what part of the orange we're actually getting, what sort of networks we're getting. Think of flavors more as opposed to just like a certain thing. What aspects of that? If we talk about apples, is it the skin? Is it the flesh? Are they cooked? Are they biting into a fresh one? That kind of thing. Our blend here, folks, is a mix of 72% grains and 28% malts. Off that malt makeup, it will be no surprise to you that 10% of that is a triple distilled peated Irish malt. Okay? Shocked. 3% of it is a triple distilled Oloroso, and 15% is a double distilled Irish single malts, all American oak. But what I want to emphasize on this is think of the smoke not as something that's going to overwhelm. It's more of a seasoning. It's a nod to Belfast, and it's a nod to that industrial history. A bit of Belfast in every bottle. We've had a nose, folks. Let's have a wee taste. Sláinte.
Sláinte.
Would peat have been common in older?
Yeah, we basically had all our trees cut down in the whole country to build ships. We burnt all the coal to fuel them, and the only solid fuel you would have had to get a constant heat to make whiskey is peat. Mm-hmm. Even the common man could walk into the hillside and cut it out of the ground.
Yep.
Nearly every house, or especially a country one where I grew up, had a still out the back, and from your underwear to your bedclothes smelled of smoke, because they all smoked pipes and they all cooked with a range of peat and a fire of peat. And the whiskey still was definitely powered by peat.
It's a wee bit different now in 2026, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Steam jackets.
Yeah, exactly. But it's that nod, and when the business was founded by Peter Lavery, a son of Belfast, who essentially wanted to really emphasise this heart of bringing back this concept of celebrating Belfast whiskey history. So along with our bosses as well, Richard, Stephen, these are boys in the local area who really wanted to put this stamp on what this brand means and what this first release means as well. And that is why we like to say a bit of Belfast in every bottle, folks, as well. And hopefully, those amongst you, quick show of hands, who doesn't enjoy peats? Couple here. So I'll tell you quick. So first of all, before I go into my little thing, how'd you find this? Yeah. Yeah, it's more of a suggestion, right? At the end of the day. Now, my girlfriend's dad hates peat. All right. I didn't know this when I brought him a bottle of Titanic Distillers when I first met the guy. Okay. Such a great guy, love him. But he absolutely loves this. He loves this product because it's got that sweetness. It's got that nice little chocolatey element, that orange. Do you know what I mean? And he'll always say that he actually, although he doesn't enjoy peat, he really enjoys this. Now, it might be because I'm bringing in free stock. I don't know, okay? But it keeps us in the good books, and that's all that matters, okay? But realistically, for anyone who is looking for your Lagavulin, your Lafroig, you might get a note of it in here. We get people. There's a suggestion. We get people at trade shows who say, I only like peated. Well, this is the peated thing we've got for now. Do you know what I mean? Try this. And they'll still say it's enjoyable. But what I really like about this is a great entrance to folks understanding what peat can be. It can be used for that seasoning element. We wanted to create a blend that was adaptable but great on its own as well. What are our thoughts?
Was it the malt
Please.
that was peated or?
So,
Yeah.
the malts, 10%.
What's that?
For people, just hang on, for people online, can you repeat the question because they can't hear it?
Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. Beg your pardon. Sorry?
Yeah, please repeat my first question.
Yep. So it was the question, folks, was: is the grain that's peated or is it the malt that's peated? So in this case, 10% of the malt is peated, triple distilled peated Irish malt.
Okay, and that was my second question. You just answered that.
Perfect. The percentage, yes.
But I think you've got to distinguish the difference between Scottish peat and Irish peat, and that smoking kind of style. Like where I come from is only 22 miles from Islay, the home of double distilled peated Scotch whisky, and enough of that came through my house when I was younger to know the difference between double and triple, like night as day. They tend to have a lot of saltwater peat cut from below the waterline, full of seaweed, full of iodine. It has that very strong medicinal germaline, TCP antiseptic taste. You drink a Scotch that's peated, and you drink a glass of water afterwards, the water would taste burnt. You taste an Irish peated whiskey, and you drink the water afterwards, the water tastes like water. Yeah. Because our peat's cut from hillside, it's dead trees and dead flowers. Yeah. It's more meadowland that's turned to dirt. So it's got this more floral note. I always get that. Yeah. It's more a campfire, bonfire than sort of your medicine cabinet. And I like that element of it, where it's that more gentle side of the rolling Irish hills.
Yeah. I will always love at trade shows the folks who've been over to the big peaty Scotch whiskies, and they're glad you smell them before they arrive at the sense. You know what I mean? And you got a beautiful unpeated pot still, and they go, oh, have that and that. So I promise you, it's not going to taste as we intend. You know what I mean? Rinse your glass out, sort of thing. But yeah, it's hard to get that. It's hard to get that nose out sometimes, isn't it?
Did anybody check the legs on it? Because the thing that really caught me with this was the 5 and the 7 hiding in it.
Yep.
And that's an important thing that carries this as a spirit. It's why it earned a place on my shelf. There's a 5-year-old double distilled in there and a 7-year-old sherry cask, and that really.
Yep.
Yeah. It's only 3% of the blend, but it dominates it, and it's what we used to do with triple distillation in Ireland, sherry cask, and carrying that fruit forward, those notes.
Yep. And again, you've got that double distillation in there as well to carry a bit more weight in the blend. Like quite important to deliver on that. And I think we're 40% here. We are our standard blend sort of level. So for me, it's like that really approachable whiskey that you can mix and you can make a fantastic highball out of this. But I do think it does have a great place in the glass by itself. I think it's got a wonderful composition to it. I really do. And we, in terms of pounds, we're $34.99. Sorry, but the retail price on it. So in terms of pounds, we're $34.99. So in terms of your euro, around €40 at retail.
Sorry, you had a question, sir?
Sorry, just curious. I think it's your 40%. I'm assuming it's your entry.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So is that a bit of a brave move to add the peat in that, because it's not really part of the Irish palate? You think of the rest of the like a mid-shelf.
Yeah.
For want of a better word, it's all sherry cask. It's all sweet.
Yeah.
It's all soup for cocktails. So is that a brave move? Is it a risk, or are you just going a new way?
So to summarise the question, we were talking about the being more of a brave move to come in with a sort of peated proposition for our entry-level whiskey, our first proposition. So yes, it is. And again, the Irish palate obviously has a sort of nod to that more orchard fruits, that sort of sweet, soft character. And it's fantastic you mentioned that, because what we do have in the works at the moment is an unpeated version of our premium blend as well to facilitate that. What we have found is that we have that distinction does really carry us in a lot of ways, but it's an understandable thing that we do run into sometimes. We look at the market, say German market, for example, the Dutch market absolutely loves that peated element, but we want to be able to people to have both. So what we will have is, if you will, a yin and a yang of our premium Irish whiskey. So the unpeated blend will be more leaning towards a sherry. So it will still have a nod of something, a point of difference, but more of the sherry elements coming through as opposed to, and still a high composition of malts versus the grain as well, at 40%. So again, you know, we're talking 3 years. Sorry, how old is the blend? The big pan was the question. So again, do you know what I mean, we're talking non-age statement here because of the mixed. We, as Brian mentioned before, we have 7-year malts in here. We have 5-year malts in here as well. But the youngest malts will be about 3 years old in here. So technically speaking, we are talking
It's a 3-year-old.
Yeah. But there are those older malts in there as well. Sorry, at home crowd. I keep remembering to ask those questions for you. How do we find it, folks? Do we enjoy it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Hopefully you enjoy it at home as well, folks. Hopefully you enjoy it, and it'd be great to get any feedback. Do let us know about it, and answer any questions you have about it. Fire them through. Wonderful. Shall we move on to our third?
Yeah.
So that's the premium blend. We want to just pass the bottle around.
No pouring.
Yeah, there's very little left anyway, but yeah.
Don't say that.
That's always a good sign, though.
We have some nods as well to the bottle as it goes round. We'll talk about our next whiskey, and we'll talk about some things you'll see on the bottle.
So, for example, you might see the Titanic Distillers logo on there. It's in the shape of a TD for Titanic Distillers, obviously, but it could also stand for Thompson Dock, where we're situated. I'm getting to that. So you'll notice that it's in the shape of a ship to mark our maritime theme, but it has the White Star on top for the White Star line that was built at the heart of our distillery. 1911 is when the pump house and the dock were opened, but it's also the first year the great ships were launched to actually from the original gantry to build them. But 401 is not an age statement. Most of the men back then were illiterate, and the whole island was like a factory floor assembly line. As the ships moved down the island to the end to Thompson Point, where we're situated, they added new parts to them like a Lego kit coming out of the box. They couldn't name the pieces because the men wouldn't understand where they went, and all the pieces in ships looked similar. So they numbered everything. Every ship had a yard number. Olympic was 400, Titanic was 401, and Britannic was 433. And our distillery is the last place on earth where you can gauge the physical size of Titanic, but also the footprint. It's also the last place where she sat on dry land before she set sail and tragically sank. And those great ships were the sort of thing that carried Irish whiskey around the world to make it dominant at that time in history. I think in that time in history, we had something like 80% of the world whiskey market is what we captured and owned. So that's where we're situated. And as a historical place, we feel we need to add to that history in the sort of blood, sweat, and years of what it takes to make a well-crafted product. Now, some people go, oh, but, Titanic sank. But if you actually come and visit us at the dry dock, you'll see the level of engineering I'm talking about. It took 7 years for 500 men with spades and wheelbarrows to remove 310,000 tons of sleech. Sleech is a composite material of silt, sand, and clay. It's basically river basin. You know when you're at the beach and you try to dig a hole and the tide comes in? One spade out and 5 fall in? That's exactly what happened. How they shored it up was with huge granite blocks, folks. On average this size, but this wide, but that deep. They were all put there by hand. When they finally completed it in 1911, it was the largest dry dock in the world and making the biggest ships in the world. Granite is the hardest stone we have in Ireland. We have ancient monuments on this landscape, older than the Egyptian pyramids, that still stand straight and true today from the very same stone. That dock's going nowhere, There's Catalyst came, there a science and industry park came along, and they thought, they heard all these stories, this dock was built to last. So they brought in a LiDAR team to scan the dock. And what they found blew their minds. The basin of the dock is laid with 18 solid meters of granite blocks. They were all put there by hand. It's topped off. There's 3 foot to a meter, by the way, in case anybody's talking imperial measurements. There's a meter and a quarter of concrete that tops it off. The walls are 17.5 foot thick. The dock stands from the railing to the foundation stones of our building. The hole in the ground today is 12 meters deep, 44 foot. The hole they dug was much bigger. Over to you, sir.
He keeps giving me things that I can't follow. Sorry. He keeps setting me up and I keep going, another whiskey, bro. It's beautiful getting these albums. It really, really is. And it goes back again to that history of the place we are and the significance of the place where we are. I always echo, the sentiment that we have got a big responsibility on our shoulders with the name Titanic Distillers. But, folk mentioned the ship, and rightly so, John. We were talking about the most famous, arguably the most famous piece of maritime history to ever exist. What we want to speak about, the brand, is the folk who made it, the city that made it, the country that made it. And that's that ambition, that what it was all about. That's what we want to lean into, and that's what we want to discuss when we talk about these things. Moving on to whiskey number 3, folks. We're going to move on to what we call one of our Pump House series. Now, our Pump House series, folks, is a limited edition release of certain things that we do. What we're basically doing at this point is experimenting with casks, different styles, and what we're doing is start defining what our portfolio looks like as our whiskies come to age. So what we have here is a 9-year single grain finished in rye, Madeira, and Muscatel. And the significance of this goes back similarly to what we mentioned with Potchin. We want to have an understanding and a conversation around history of whiskey. We spoke about partition, we spoke about prohibition as reasons why the Irish whiskey industry is decimated. What we sometimes forget is the large sort of reflection, and it's sort of like moving away from the idea of the continuous still, patented by Aeneas Coffey. Essentially at this point, there's a big belief that Irish whiskey has to be single malt. It can't be anything else. What is these grain whiskies that we're talking about? It takes away from the purity of everything. We still see the still being painted in the 1830s. And what we're looking at this point is essentially this future of what whiskey can be. And dare I say it, a reason why Scotch whiskey had a bit of a leg up at some point as well. But in this time, what we are able to do is talk about the significance of single grain and the reason why single grain has that wonderful reflection back into Irish whiskey as we know it today. It's bright, it's floral, it just absorbs flavour in such a beautiful way. This, folks, is a 42% single grain, and what we've done in here, most of its life in AB1, in American oak barrels, but that three-way finish of rye, Madeira, Muscatel casks coming in. And for me, we look at the colour, we can see a bit of those wine casks starting to come in. We see a bit of that gold hue getting a little bit deeper. Not quite amber, not quite sherry cask, but certainly a bit darker. On the nose, where are we, folks? Where are we?
Yeah, really nice. Really nice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful nose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Got a slight sulphur nose that you get from Muscatel.
Yes.
Sweet wine.
More the skins as well. Do you know what I mean? You're sort of accepting that kind of thing there. Is anyone an American whiskey fan in the room? Out of interest?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? I'm not a big bourbon guy, but I love a rye. And I love that sort of, that sort of tightness that you get in a rye whiskey. And you sort of get that green, that melon skin starting to come through a little bit for me here. So around 6 months on these, yeah. Respectfully at each cask, on an average. Shall we have a little dram, and then we can then pause for a little few minutes? Sláinte, folks.
Sláinte.
Good health.
Is this finished in those casks, or is it longer? 6 months?
Finished, yeah, 6 months. On average.
Bourbon before that?
Bourbon beforehand.
Okay.
Do you put it in?
So 8 years in bourbon,
Okay.
6 and 6.
So we're getting the grain.
Madeira.
We're getting the grain.
I love the way, I'm not a
we're
fan
getting
of
the grain
rye
as
whiskey,
is,
but I love the
we're
way
getting that,
Madeira
then we're sort of moving
brings out
casks around
stone
as well.
fruits,
So doing
dark
separate
stone fruits at the
macerations
end on the
and bringing it back
finish.
together for the blend.
Deepens, there's a lot of hazelnut in it though as well.
I find gingery, I think.
Yeah, there's a bit of that going on, yeah.
Yeah. Can you repeat the question as well?
So he asked, how was it finished? In what age? So 8 years in a AB1 bourbon cask, and then 6 months and 6 months in Muscatel and Madeira.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we have a question.
start bringing it to 9.
Is it available and what's the cost?
Absolutely. So it is still available for now. I think we're down to maybe our last few bottles of this.
Probably 10.
Yeah, there's not a lot left.
What's the phones come out?
Yeah, well, the phones are out now, basically. In terms of, I'm trying to remember the euro translation over, but it's I think it's 65 retail.
69 retail.
69 retail.
So probably about €90.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
about that.
Give or take. Yep. Have a look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
85. Yeah, it comes in a special box.
Yeah.
Celebrating one of the dock workers that built the ships. A hip flask and a funnel so you can fuel on the go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the hip flask has got the Titanic Distiller's name on it,
Yeah.
but it's in the shape of a little jerry can.
It's so cute. And it fits perfectly on your keyring as well, you know.
Brilliant, thank you.
So that's from TitanicDistillers.com, and obviously we'll mention in a second. But yes, yep, exactly that. Brian, you want to say?
So,
We talked about the finishing.
So once
folks,
again,
the
a
times.
question on the finishing for those of you online. It's an 8-year-old single malt or single rye.
Yes.
So
Single grain.
Grain, sorry. And for 6 months in a muscatel and then 6 months in Madeira cask.
Yeah.
That bringing it up to the 9.
Yeah.
So it's finished in those 2 last casks for 6 months at a time.
So we're past the 8. We're getting on our way to 9. Then we stop it and then finish for the 6 to get it over the threshold.
But I think it brings out a lot of the soft muscatel, white grape at first, and then deepens into those dark stone fruits in the finish.
Yeah.
For me, that Madeira aging just brings it back to that stone fruits, which is nearly back to where we are with Irish whiskey, you know?
Yeah. It's the salivation I get with this one. So you get that for me again. Remember, folks, when we talk about what we experience with whiskies, everyone has different flavor profiles, and at home you might get something different. But for me, it's very much the rye just goes straight down the middle, and then you get this dryness, and then this salivation comes in on the side, and those wine casks really get to work. A little bit of the American oak coming through as well. You get that nice sort of bites coming through. I just think it delivers. And remember, this is 48%. This is, relatively speaking, a lower ABV, but it invites in that salivation with the rye in a big way. Yes, it is. Yeah.
So would that be Great Northern as well? Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, beg your pardon. Would that be Great Northern? How do we think, folks? I look as far as a summer whiskey, spring, summer, but kind of works. We released in the autumn, to be fair. I think it works well there, but I think it works particularly well this time of year.
I think in terms of mouthfeel, for me, it's very lacy. You know, it's got a lot of air in it, but that peppery tang from the rye really lifts it out to bring out those deeper flavors.
Yep. Absolutely. And at home, if you're looking in your baskets, hold on for just a minute. I might have something for you. Okay, folks.
Right, should we? We're going to take a 15-minute break. So back in the room at 22. Yes.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
See you in 15.
Do you want to give about the discount? No? Are you going to do that after? Are we offline?
I said, we're stopping us doing like a little catwalk and stuff.
Are we still in shot?
Okay.
Yes, you are now.
And live. Perfect.
So, I like that idea of the two puzzles. I think
Yep.
it's perfect.
Perfect. Let's do that.
Okay, we're going to restart, starting with the two pot stills.
Start with the two pot stills. Wonderful stuff. Before that, folks, I want to say to everyone in the room, just so you know, if you've got things in your baskets and stuff, you've done it in the 15 minutes, I want you to know we have some codes for you. If you go onto the Titanic Distillers website and want to buy anything that is at this moment in time not one of the Pump House series, if you put TD20 into your basket, the coupon at the end, you get 20% off. If you want one of the Pump House series, i.e. 09mm, there's not very much off left. You can put limited 10 in there for 10% off that. And if you want to join us at the distillery for our signature tour, book that and put in ST50 for 50% off the tour as well. That's for you at home as well, folks. If you want to do that just now, please do by all means. Limited 10. Limited 10. I can, yeah. Do you want to write them down?
Yeah.
Write them down?
So,
doing that, like I say, we've got a full session ahead. But if you just want to get ahead of it, by all means, please do.
TD50.
TD20 for anything not the Pump House. Limited 10 for the Pump House. And ST50.
TD20.
TD20. Pump House. And that includes an 07 ST, which is a 7-year-old stout finished single malt, which is
Hot
beautiful.
tip.
One of Brian's favorites as
Take that.
well. Yeah.
Telling you won't be disappointed.
And that is limited 10. It's like QVC, this, isn't it? And then join us at the distillery for our signature tour. Speak to Brian, speak to the rest of our guys, have a Belfast coffee, enjoy, look around the distillery at Thompson Dock. It's ST50 on your checkout, folks, as well, okay? Wanted to get those in, wanted to make sure they were all good before.
So limited 10, all one word. Is
Is it all lowercase?
Just lowercase, sounds like it's already.
No, so I got given it.
Oh, is it LTD?
Sorry?
Limited 10, is it LTD or is it limited? And
Limited 10, all one word.
All
capitals,
one
cap-
word, all capitals.
All
sorry.
one word, all capitals. I'll repeat them through the session anyway, folks. So if you've got any questions, ask in and we can repeat those for you. What I'll do actually is...
Hold on.
I was going to. If anyone on the chat wants to get these, they're just there. Oh, perfect. It's all good. It's limited 50. Not yet. Okay, folks. I will say as well, folks, more Pump House series might be a thing, but for now, this is what we got. So please enjoy. Okay,
And
so
that's all one word.
hope you had a good break, folks. Thanks for coming back. It's always nice when people do that, to be honest with you. So we are going to move on to whiskies number
Water?
4 and yes, please. Yeah, it'd be safest to, wouldn't it? We're going to go on to whiskies number 4 and number 5, and we're going to do them together, folks. Because what I want to talk about first of all is pot still whiskey. So, quick show of hands to me. Familiar with pot still? Are we all? Yep. Does anyone want to for a rough conversation about what pot still is, or what their understanding of pot still is?
Like malted and malted barley.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Yes. So essentially speaking, a mix of malted and unmalted barley. So Brian, we've got a good little bit of history when it comes to pot still whiskey and its genesis. I'm sure the folks in here do have an understanding of it, but if you want to talk about that just for a little second, it would be fantastic.
So, traditionally, the distiller would get his tax bill from the taxman gauging the volume in the pot. And so he used to gauge the size of the pot and the liquid inside, and he charged them for the liquid. But they started putting shapes in the pot. Now, some say the rounded shapes in the pot were because it was to remind the men of their women in the hillside. Because you couldn't make it in the village because you could blow the whole village up. And at night you could curl up to the rounded pot and it would remind them of their voluptuous women at home. And you could get the heat off the pot. But that is just a story. The true reason is the more contact the spirit has with the metal, the more it draws out the harmful elements that would be damaging to us. But the secondary reason was it would throw the eye off of the taxman. The taxman started to get a bit annoyed with this process, and some Irish makers were very cunning. They actually buried the pot under the ground. Now, you don't see those pots in Ireland anymore. They look like a little upside down funnel with a little straight pipe out of the ground. But as soon as you lift the floorboards underneath, there's a big fat belly of whiskey. And when they were caught, they used to say, "Oh, sure, it's to save on the heating bill. It's an efficient heating system." Really, it was to hide the whiskey inside. The taxman, like I say, got annoyed with this process, so he started charging them for the grain that they used. You can cut your whiskey with rye, with wheat, with corn, with oats, and various other grains, but the one grain you always have to use, or the one that we prominently like to use, is barley. And the reason is because when you malt barley, which is a 5-day process, it opens up these enzymes that break down the hard, nutty starch into soft, glorious sugar, which we capture and turn into alcohol and eventually make our spirit from. And it doesn't just do it for that grain, it does it for all grain. And so he knew that he could charge them for the barley. The point of entry was the mash tun, which became known as the mash bill. So everybody had a list of grain ingredients that made up their recipe to make their whiskey flavour. And different grains would give you different flavour profiles. Some would say, oh, it's 40% oats and 40% wheat and 20% barley. But he knew it was malted barley, so he'd charge them for the 100% malted barley. Irish makers, being very shrewd and cunning, had worked out that you could cut it with 50% malted barley and 50% raw barley. If you lay the two grain in the same bed overnight, they'd make love to each other and share the same properties. It took out 5 days of our production time in terms of malting, but it left the essence of the raw barley in there, leaving a creamy, buttery finish like a shortbread butter biscuit, and the invention of the single pot still. It was a uniquely straw-like and delicate spirit, and it became fashionable and well-known around the world, and nobody ever knew how they made it, because they couldn't divulge the recipe on the mash bill, because they'd have to pay the taxes for the barley. And thus we had the single pot still. It's now seen as a heritage spirit in Ireland, and rightly so. Only we can make it, because we invented it, like actual whiskey.
I could stand here with you for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, and I would not get as good as that as he is, folks. So thank you so much, Brian. Yeah, pot still fascinating, and again, it's one of those things that I lean to in terms of conversation we have about Irish whiskey history. For us, it was very important to have a pot still release within the portfolio. Now, we released our first pot still. This is whiskey number 4 on your charts last year. Now, for me, this is very important because I adore this whiskey. I really, really do. This, folks, is a mix of 50% malted barley, 50% unmalted barley, quote unquote, some points in there, some other grains in the mix of things as well to make things interesting. But this essentially is a 50-50 split of malted and unmalted barley. That unmalted barley, for me, giving you that grassy element, that green character, that industrial heart, and for me, that identity of the raw material and distillation process that I love so much. There's a reason I love tequilas and mezcals, folks, is because I love to know what that process is, what is the raw material, what is the distillation process, and that is what a pot still will give you. So what I want you to do, folks, is first of all, have a nose of this. I don't want you to drink it just yet. And I know this is your session, I know you paid money. Folks at home, I know you paid money as well, but I want you just to hold back just for 1 second, okay?
Resist.
Have a little nose of this, of number 4, okay? This is a full maturation in first fill American oak barrels. This is 46% ABV. This is essentially, for me, it's a great representation of what a pot still is and what it can be. And for Titanic Distillers, what we wanted to do was showcase pot still in a beautiful way. And when it comes to this liquid, this is one of my favorite things we produce, genuinely, because I think it's so bright, it's so fresh, so elegant. And when we taste it in a second, it will come into that. But here's the thing. When we're talking about the expansion of our range, what we want to be able to do is talk a bit more about what the future of Irish whiskey looks like. And one of the luxuries we have with Irish whiskey is not just the ability to use woods beyond oak, something that does sort of bottleneck Scotch whiskey at times. It's the ability for our whiskey to very much marry very, very well with sherry casks and other wine casks as well. So what we wanted to do was sort of rethink the pot still a little bit, have those first elements in play, the 50-50 split, the same thing that is in number 4. And what we wanted to do is introduce an element of sherry. Now, we've got the labels on our mats already. Are we fans of sherry in the room, folks? Yeah? Beautiful. This is a good crowd. I love this. Imagine if you all said no. That'd be terrible, wouldn't it? This, folks, is essentially the same makeup, but instead of 5 years in first fill American oak barrels, this is 4 years in American oak barrels and 12 months in Pedro Jimenez sherry casks. These Pedro Jimenez sherry casks are quite special. They've previously held Pinot Noir, Californian Pinot Noir, okay? So here's what I want you to do as a little note, okay? I want you to get the two side by side, sample number 4, sample number 5. I want you to look at colour, first of all, and see that difference. One thing I want to tell you folks as well, whenever you taste the Titanic Distillers products, there is never any colour added. I don't think there's anything wrong with colour being added. I'm fully about it, absolutely fine. But what we want to showcase is what those natural colours look like. Yes, my friend.
Do you use a specific bourbon distillery or does it vary?
So the question was, do we use a specific bourbon distillery? So what we do is we get our casks from companies such as Kentucky Bourbon Barrel, etc., that will get the best casks from conditioning. So we get a range of, say, Buffalo Trace, Heaven Hill, Jack Daniels, but we get the best for condition. But Jack Daniels will be involved in our cask, for example, basically.
Do you notice a difference or?
Depends. For me, you get a little bit more banana from those Tennessee ones, me personally, especially on the nose there, and the whiskies that it's soaked in. But realistically, what we're carrying is sweetness, and then we blend the final product together as is. Do you know what I mean? So I'm talking about our own products here when we talk about distilling our Titanic Distillers products. Right. In terms of Great Northern, they will get a bigger collection of those casks as well, and they'll probably have a very similar approach to what we have to get that final product.
Thank you.
No problem at all. So we have sample number 4, sample number 5. The colour alone, folks, I want you to recognise there's a difference there. Correct?
Yep.
Wonderful stuff. Number 1, very light and straw. Very nice, almost like a Sauvignon, something like that.
Yeah. I think it's quite typical of a pot.
Yeah.
That straw colour.
Yeah, you sort of see that traditionally, don't you?
Yeah.
And then you start to see the sherry cask come into play. So what we want to do, we want to nose number 4. So number 4 at home, folks. First of all, on the nose, talk to me.
Very fruity, like fresh fruit.
Fresh fruits.
Pear.
Yeah.
Fresh
Is it
apple.
like fruits that aren't cooked? You know, like straight from the bowl, bite in, chop. Beautiful. I'd agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
White stone fruit.
Yeah.
Stone fruits.
White
Beautiful.
stone fruits. Yeah.
So we're talking apricot, we're talking nectarine, that kind of thing. Yeah. Lychee. Oh, lychees. Oof.
Yeah. That was
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. Folks at home, please
That's a
let
good
us
one.
know as well what you're getting from this. This would be great. This is 46%, folks, okay? What I would always say, when I first started enjoying this whiskey, I took a little bit of water with it. I drink it neat now. I prefer it neat now, but I would encourage you, if you want to, if you've got an empty glass, you want to rinse it out, put some on the side, add a little bit of water. You'll see the oils in it. But going back to what Brian said earlier about oils, look how greasy that guy is in there. Do you know what I mean? Those wonderful pot still elements just in there. Nice, big, slow legs. Yeah. It's got a lot of weight to it as well. This is a 5-year pot still, folks, as well. So on the nose, it's got those bright fruits.
Very lively nose.
We just said it's got a very lively nose. Certainly does.
Different nose.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You can see the verticals of the congregation.
So I've got a question for you folks, because I like to make this about you as much as it is about us here today. Would you like to do a nose, taste, or would you like to do nose, taste? Nose, taste, Beautiful. That's what we're doing, folks. So let's have a little nose together. Slant your punch.
I think you get a lot of the ex-bourbon barrel coming through on it. A lot of
I love it so much. I
It's
really
a
do.
really great spirit.
What's the rationale behind the different ABV on the PX versus the non?
It was more just a test. Sorry, the question was, what's the rationale between the different ABVs? So the number 5 is our PX, which is 44.5. The number 4 is the single pot still, that is 46%. The rationale was it just didn't taste right at 46 with the sherry cask. It was just too dry. Yeah, simple as that. It's just one of those things. Again, I asked Damien the same question. He went, it wasn't right. So I go, okay, that's my answer then. Fair enough.
That's funny. I got the same answer. Because the first one, I got that, and it just was so easy, a tipple.
Yeah.
You could be halfway, 3/4 of the bottle in, and suddenly you realize, oh God, this is 46 ABV.
Yeah.
This one here, I thought, why is it so low? But yeah, it's that reason.
100%. Now I've added a drop of water to number 4, folks. It's just for me get more of that sort of Malik character come through, but also a bit more of that baking spice. It becomes more of like a apple Danish, that kind of thing for me. Yeah, it's huge, isn't it, on the apple? It's one, like for me, like I get in trouble quite a lot. I call this breakfast whiskey, folks. Brian did promise you breakfast whiskey. We got breakfast whiskey for you, folks. I do not encourage anyone to drink it on breakfast by all means.
Yeah,
So
please drink
responsibly at home as well. But for me, if you want to talk what the definition of breakfast whiskey, bright, fresh, straight to the point. Which is fine. Yeah, absolutely fine.
The thing I love about that one is it kind of lifts off the tongue like champagne. It almost evaporates.
Yeah.
But suddenly you get in the finish that creamy, buttery finish, like a shortbread finish, or a white wine. You get that creaminess. That's indicative of a pot still. You get the raw barley coming through.
So interesting you say that. So we did. I'm a big advocate for the best way to drink whiskey is the way that you enjoy it. Okay, I'm not a person who says you can't do this, you can't do that. I think more conversation we have about what we can do. Amazing. At Christmas time, we did anyone had a French 75 before?
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. We did a version for Christmas. We swapped out the gin for pot still. Lemon juice, sugar, topped with champagne, nice lemon twist. It's just beautiful. It's that Malik appeal. It's just wonderful altogether. Now, if we come to number 5, the pot still finished in PX. Have a little rinse out on your mouths, folks. For sure. And I want you to remember, folks, that this is the exact same composition, 50-50. It's still got 4 years in AB1, American Oak, but what it's got to its credit after that is 12 months in Pedro Jimenez casks, which have previously held Pinot Noir. Okay? So we have some wine fans in the room. Hopefully you can sort of see that influence as well. It's Californian Pinot Noir as well, so a very warm climate. It's got a wonderful fruitiness in the grape, not quite as dry as a French Pinot Noir, has a little bit more sort of residual sugar.
Sorry, which one is Pinot Noir?
Sorry? Fifth. It's the PX, but the question was which is Pinot Noir? Yeah. They're PX, but they've previously held Pinot Noir wine.
Sorry.
So what's happening with those? With the PX cast and then Pinot Noir.
So Pinot Noir before they had PX.
So it's a bogle. It's what's called a bogle cask.
The bogle family.
So in California, they have Pinot Noir in it, and then they ship it over to Jerez in Spain, and they PX it.
So they season
it's only been toasted. It's not charred.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of those wood flavors are really coming through with this one.
It's that white smoke again as well. That residual.
Yeah, it's that more wine kind of craft.
The sherry had previously been in Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir first, then sherry. Then whiskey.
So the whiskey has been in the Pinot Noir as well.
Yes. So essentially, if you look at the cask as a whole, the cask has been Asian Pinot Noir in California. That's then taken the Pinot Noir out. It's gone to Jerez, and then it's got the PX in there. PX comes out. It's been seasoned with the PX, and then exactly that. Yeah, 100%. It's one of them, but it's in the technicality. It's a weird technicality, but it's a double seasoning on the cask. Yeah, really. Yeah. Kind of, yeah. So the question was just emphasis on the two types of wine, one first, then the other. Yeah, exactly. So it starts with American Pinot Noir, California Pinot Noir, and then I think the estate does Zinfandel as well, but I think these are Pinot Noir, and then Pedro Jimenez after that, and then the whiskey is matured for 12 months. So all that flavour coming straight through.
Sorry, you had a question, sir?
How long was the PX in the cask?
So the question was how long was the PX in the cask? I'm not entirely sure on that one.
Nope.
I'd have to go back to Damien. He would know. I just remember seeing those two casks arriving on a pallet. And that morning I was strolling into work, and our cocktail mixologist came out, and he was, I knew you would be late because you're looking at these. Because it's one of my favorite types of sherry, and it really does marry whiskey beautifully.
Yeah.
Long enough to make it dangerously good.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Do me a favor, when at the end we'll get that question. I'll get an answer for you as well. Okay. On the nose, folks, what do we get? We said dangerously good down here. That's as good a flavour note as anything, my friend. To be honest with you.
Red currants.
Red currants,
That's good,
beautiful,
yeah,
beautiful. There's a nuttiness, I think, there for me, like more of like a macadamia. Yeah.
Then your raisin side.
Absolutely coming through those dried fruits as well. And a little taste, folks.
The paddle.
It's hot. Like it.
It's alive, isn't it?
What do you think of it in terms of comparison to the other
Well,
pots still?
this is the question, isn't it?
I mean, that's what we're really looking for here, folks. You know, what do you feel about the number 4 pot still crossed over with the number 5 pot still?
I think the palette on the second one is number 4 is very lively.
Yeah.
Very different, actually. Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally different animals,
Yeah.
but in one sort of sensibility, I think the first one, I love it as a spirit. It's more maybe a kind of national kind of appreciation, whereas this second one has much more an international kind of character.
Yeah.
And I think that between the different continents, you know, from America to Spain to Europe to Ireland, it really strikes a sort of chord in terms of marrying those different capacities of craft and distillation and brewing and winemaking all at once.
It also highlights.
Yeah.
Like almost one is kind of spring going into summer, and then one's autumn, winter. That kind
Yeah.
of like toasted warm.
I think if you combine the palette and that one, finish that together, that's what I like. Yeah.
Well, I think it highlights that young pot still is young and light. And if you want that richer taste, rather than wait 5 years to make a 10-year-old cask finish and something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a lead in. Sorry, this gentleman at the room first.
I'll keep you updated in chat in a second.
The range of flavors that will be picked up from the nose to the palate is much longer. The bigger range of flavors than with the PX finish.
So number 4 more so than the...
Well, the PX finish is a bigger range of flavors.
Number 5.
But it seems to be surprisingly it finishes with a metallic type finish, PX, which is a bit of a surprise to the palate.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's hard to work out which one prefers then.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to fall in love with that bigger range. From the soft berry that Nick was saying, to what I would say is a metallic type finish in the back of the palate.
Yeah.
So that's a different combination.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I think the first one without the PX finish is definitely punching above its weight.
Amazing.
For sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we've had a few conversations there. So we talked about the composition of the two together, and to find that middle point between that sort of brightness and that sort of start of number 4 and the finish of number 5. I think fair to say, my friend, that's what we were looking at there, finding that middle point. Yeah, good to say. And then what we were talking about then now was the how much bang for the buck a young pot still can do with correct finishing. So looking at, you know, how can we take a young pot still and give it a length that really sort of is beyond its years, realistically? Because I must say, as much as I'm a massive advocate for number 4, the finish on number 5 is a lot longer for me as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's very much.
It makes it a more altruistic kind of whiskey.
Yeah, absolutely. we spoke as well about that spring, summer, autumn, winter connection as well. How, you know, sometimes number 4 can look very much like that spring, summer composition. Autumn, winter can come in through the PX as well. So the same basic breakdown of these whiskies can exist in 2 different seasons, which depends obviously on the seasoning. Can be the ABV as well, but there's so many different options that can really affect. And again, sometimes we're in quite a warm room right now as well. You know, we're in April going into May.
Spring nearly into summer.
But
Summer starts tomorrow.
Summer starts tomorrow.
Belton.
But maybe that's why that number 4 resonates with us so well in the room, because we go seasonality. It's bright, it's fresh, it's vibrant, it's full of life. Everything's green again. Do you know what I mean? It could be a bit of that, but it goes down to the conversation we have about, you know, what these things can be. And again, yes.
I'm going to ask that question as well. Are these widely available, or what's the
Price point.
So here's my answer to the question, okay? One's available, one's not available just yet. So number 4 is currently available. Remember, Standard Spirits TD20, if you want it, 20% off, by all means.
Which is a bargain.
Bargain, yeah, 100%.
It's like a steal. Do you mind if I use that code?
You're at the distillery every day, Joe. PX is on its way. We will be releasing number 6, we're going to try, before we release number 5. However, for this evening, I will honour these codes for the release of that as well.
I'm imagining one per bottle.
So sorry, this man had a question next, and then we'll get to you.
Just a question, I could be getting it wrong, but what's the reason why, in my mouth anyway, number 4 is creamier, that cremosa kind of thing, more so than 5? And what's the reason for that?
Brilliant question.
I think for me, it's that. Sorry, the question was why is number 4? Sorry, my friend. What's your name? So Gareth. So Gareth was asking why in his palate number 4 had a creamier mouthfeel as opposed to number 5. So for me, I can answer mine, and then Brian, by all means, you answer yours. For me, it's twofold. It's number 1, the ABV 46 invites in more salivation, allows you to pick up more of the sugars from that AB1, and it's the extra year in the AB1 as well. So a combination of those two elements will add some more of that sweetness as far as I derive. I don't know if you have a similar approach, Brian.
I'd go with that. I mean, for me on the inhalation, I know you don't like to, but I do. It's a lot of caramel because of the bourbon cask. But on the nose, it's completely pear. But it's the way it lifts off the tongue and develops into that creaminess is more that raw barley element. I think the PX just lengthens the creaminess, and you start to get the stone fruits taken over.
More flesh.
Yeah, I don't know if it quite dominates a bit. I mean, I suppose everybody's different. Everybody's their own palate. To be honest, this is the 3rd time I've had the privilege of tasting this spirit, so I've got to weigh down with this one for a while, I think. So yeah.
With those red wine finishes and the PX, you tend to have more of a sulfur component.
Yeah,
Sulfur, but
the sulfites, yeah.
And I think that also adds a different dimension to it.
Yeah.
And that will, I think, compensate for some of the creaminess, because that's so light, the creaminess comes out. It's just
Yeah.
So the question was, why is the number 4, the 5-year-old pot still that's just ex-bourbon, more creamy than the number 5, which is the one with the PX aging? And I think it's kind of a combination of things, but I think a lot of it's to do with personal palate.
Yep, very much so.
Is really what we're really talking about. The higher ABV and aging in that longer barrel,
Certainly.
yeah, definitely would help bring out the sugars.
But
I would agree, 100%.
You're absolutely right, though. It's that your palate will attract on different things, depending on. It could be the fact that someone's had a coffee earlier on that the other person didn't have, and it's all these things. You know what I mean? I used to get told by our old master blender, not in this role but in a previous role, that the best time to taste whiskey was at 11 o'clock in the morning. Before you have your first coffee. Now it's not a
breakfast whiskey.
Not the most sustainable practice, but it works for them. So you know what I mean. But yeah, there's all those outlying things as well. And Brian's absolutely right. It's what one person gets might not be what the other person gets. But for me personally, my palate is Gareth. It's very similar to yours in that respect. Of the number 4, I get more of that sweetness come through, and I think it's more for me like that salivation from the extra ABV. It's only 1.5%, but it's the extra bit.
Yeah.
And again, just in case no one heard before, the difference of the ABVs 46 versus 44.5. With the PX, it just didn't sit right at 46%. It was way too dry, and that's why we went to 44.5. We tried 46, we tried 45.5, we tried 45, we tried we landed on 44.5 for this release. So please keep an eye open for it. It has just won double golds at the London Spirits competition past week. To Damien. And it was just awarded Irish Pot Still of the Year at London Spirits competition as well.
So when it does come out, buy lots of it.
Yeah. We're very proud of it.
Go ahead.
Sorry, your friend, is that the number 4 or number 5?
Yes.
The number 5?
Number 5, that is, yes. Yeah, number 5.
The one that's yet to
How much?
The one that's yet to come out, yeah.
Number 5 or number 4? Sorry?
Either, both.
Number 4 is currently $44.95.
So basically, we pushed back a few releases because of what's going on in the Middle East right now, with full disclosure for everybody.
Which is
so we have a single malt, which is going to be our next whiskey that we taste, which is due to release.
For 5-year-olds crazy.
We are going to have to bring them all together in a short space of time. I can't tell you exactly when it is, but please keep constant contact with me, and I can update you as soon as. I'll give you a good lead time on when it's due to be released, if that's okay, folks.
I don't know.
Yeah.
To the best I can do. Yes, my friend.
It's in the process of legality and bottling and sorry.
Keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Do we do a cash strength of number 4? I would love us to do a cask strength for number 4, to be honest with you.
So I might add, actually, if you do come visit us in the distillery, so you can get the 5-year-old number 4, which was on the tasting board. It's normally $44.95, but with your TD code at the minute, you'll get 20% off that, which is ridiculous for a 5-year-old. But we also took that spirit for a year and left it on the dock where Titanic was built in an extra bourbon cask. It went down by 2% to 44 ABV. It's the same spirit, but it's much softer.
Yeah.
And I have to say, like, have you tasted that?
I've tasted
I have
it,
to
yeah.
say, the 6-year-old of that version is so much more creamy. You really get the creaminess coming
Yeah.
through the barley, but it's a bottle your own experience. And it's limited to about 1,000 bottles. When it's gone, and it's nearly gone. So you come, you bottle it, you label it. You have to leave a message in the book because the tax man needs one of those. We do ask you keep it clean. But I would say, yeah, if you want to taste that in a more gentle spirit without adding water, and I'm an advocate of no water, that's the way to taste it.
Yeah.
You know, just that extra year of aging is very much what Garth was saying, how it comes through more creamy.
A cask strength I would love to see, whether we will or not, it's a question for someone else. But again, I'd say with the other thing, let's get in touch and let's see what we can talk about and go from there. Beautiful. Any other questions, folks?
I've a possibly unfair question, right?
Oh, go on.
It's what direction you guys see yourselves going, right?
Yeah.
So you have a possibility, like,
Yep.
you know, so you have your blended, right now. So
Yeah.
if you've won awards for pot still, where's your volume? Where do you see yourselves pitching at?
Yeah, it puts it very interesting. Yeah, sorry. The question was, where do we, with the pot still winning the awards, we just won London Spirits competition, double golds, pot still of the year. It puts us in a position, obviously, to talk about those things. Now, we are very open about the fact that we have not yet done a pot still run of this. Currently what we distill at the distillery, what we'll taste at number 7 is a triple distilled single malt. But what it does do is give us an ethos sort of going, okay, we are obviously good at bringing these things together. Yes, they're not our liquids just yet. We can clearly find a flavor profile and a palate that works. Does that then change our position? And for me, again, listen, I don't hold the purse strings on the business at all by any measure, but what I would say is, talking to the folks in the higher ups there who've been in the business since it started, that ability to adapt is one of the most wonderful things we can do. And if that's what people do want to see from us, and that ability, amazing. I think when we taste this next whiskey as well, we will have a fantastic representation of the single malt coming out, as well as the new make as well. But there is nothing wrong with adapting. That's how we drive forward.
So I was just trying to see what you see as being your...
Exactly.
Right.
For me, like if I could put an answer on what's the vision, it's the ability to always adapt.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly that. That's what I'd always say. And again, that's why we present these whiskies in these ways, and present them the way we do.
I mean, to be fair, I think you got to look at it in the terms of some of our sort of mottos. You know, yes, in the distillery, we're blood, sweat, and years. We're trying to honor that time-honored craft and tradition. But on a global scale, we're all in.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're really kind of looking at the idea of, we want to present like a traditional sort of blend and a modern twist, with this idea of, you know, you've got your pot still, you've got your single malt. You have 3, like the triumvirate of spirits that you can present to maybe your ordinary entry-level whiskey drinker, your experienced whiskey drinker, and then you guys, the experts. I mean, you guys will be looking for something very different from somebody that wants whiskey at a beginning base. So that adaptability is all about recognizing what the customer wants.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously there's a certain amount of, we'll give you what you want, but we're also going to stick true to what we think is...
Very much so.
And I think like Damien at the helm is just going to carry that through.
Yeah.
For me personally, like since I started there, I've been saying in the next 10 years, he's going to be a star in the whiskey world. I've seen it before happen up with where I'm from. And I think I'm going to have to eat my words and my hat, because he's already won national level. He's just won international level. So it's probably going to be shorter than 10 years. And so, you know, if you're not getting that whiskey, you're missing out on some of the best first-class whiskey.
You're already
That's
starring
going
my
on.
world, Damien. You're already starring my world, Damien. Okay, if you're watching, yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to feather his cap, but like, the simple thing is,
It's so true, though. It is.
he
It
is
It
really
is.
pretty good at what he does.
So we obviously, like, you know, Brian and I, we talk about the marketing, the angle of the business. Do you know what I mean? And you know, we can sit in many meetings and talk about these things. And for me, like, hopefully what we've showcased to you, and we've got 2 more things to taste as well, folks, is that these ideas that the founders have of this business do resonate for us. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've worked in other sides of whiskey beforehand, but we don't really want to be behind something we don't believe in. You know what I mean? And hopefully for us and what we're presenting today, to being able to speak to you all, is that those ideas transition themselves just quite naturally for us. Do you know what I mean? We haven't really spoke about the marketing of the brand, to be honest with you, but hopefully it's about what we're actually showcasing for you today. You know, we believe in, you know, great friends, great drinks, great nights out. Whatever you derive that as, it could be a room like this, it could be, you know, with your mates, it could be, you know, bringing people around to the gaff. Whatever it is, we're there doing, and that is part of the conversation we want to have with folks. And that just goes down the road. And at the helm, we have a fantastic distiller to have that natural conversation with people as well, and really sort of showcase that we are not just here for that flash in the pan moment, we're here for a bit of history as well. So with further ado, I've given you 1 gold winner from the London Spirits competition this year. Shall we try another?
Yeah.
Let's go, guys. Number 6 is coming up, folks. So we have number 6 on our palettes, guys. This is Titanic Distillers 8-year-old single malt Irish whiskey. Now, some great questions around before. In the break at home, we were talking about, for example, how do we continue this story? Obviously, make sure our whiskies fall into the threshold of what we're looking to do with the whiskies on display today. Now, I think no better whiskey in the lineup today showcases this than the single malt here. So this is our next release. This will be out, we're hoping, in the next couple of weeks. We've obviously with geopolitics, there's a few things going on, but we are nearly there. But you are able to say today this is the exact liquid. Now, this essentially should replicate a bit of what we're looking to do with our own single malt. Now, this is a mix of double and triple distilled Irish single malts. In here we have 70% double, 30% triple. Let's have a nose first, and I'll tell you how it all breaks down. Well, first of all, colour as well, folks. What are we getting from colour?
Colour and legs. I've never looked at legs of whiskey before. Now I'm looking at it.
Well, the longer they are, the better quality the drink. The slower they are, the older the whiskey.
Do you say legs or tears?
Legs.
Legs.
You see, I always think about the writer's tears. Like, I'm a storyteller primarily, and
Never again.
I know, really.
He was in the interview for 10 minutes, he went, yep.
You know, the writer's tears is when you can see the last leg of the glass and you can't get the last drop out to get inspiration. Whereas, you know where the legs come from? Well, that's where we get the term legless drunk. It's a poor quality drinker drinking poor quality alcohol. It's got no legs to stand upon, and that's why they fall down in the first place. The longer the legs, better quality the alcohol. The slower the legs, the older the whiskey. And it's usually how I measure a good whiskey. I mean, if you look at the premium blend, you can see it's got longer legs than it should have for 3. Absolutely. This one here is pretty good for 8. That's definitely looking like an 8. So you can even measure it by its look.
That's what people say.
That's me.
That's what people say to me all the time. It's like an 8. Yeah. Folks, with this one as well, going back to that conversation, does anyone say Angel's Tears? Yeah. Why Angel's Tears? Oh, no one says it. Okay, fair enough. So Angel's Tears is the angels shed that the angels didn't get hold of, basically.
Yeah. They're crying back into the glass for you.
I can be a poet too, okay?
But do you know the old poaching one? I should have said it during the poaching.
You should have said it over the poaching.
Yeah, sorry about that. So you know the saying we have in Ireland, his head's away with the fairies? Yeah. That comes from the poaching makers. Because they made it in the hills. We compare the flow of the liquid to the flow of the river. The top of the river is the head, and that's your methylated spirits. You wouldn't want to drink that. Make you blind, make you sick, make you dead. At the first point of methylated spirits, you get a bit crazy, you go a bit wild. Well, that's because the greedy makers weren't pouring the heads into the hedgerow. they were taking the ferry share, so they went a bit crazy. His head was away with the fairies. If he drank too much, he went blind. He was cursed by the fairies, and if he drank so much, he died. Well, he was taken to the other world by the fairies. But if you were a pure man and drank good whiskey and only drank the hearts, the good stuff, you'd go to the fairy world, have a good time, and basically come back normal after a good night out. Hopefully your wife wouldn't be cross about it. or husband. But if you drank too much of the tails, basically you'd become animalistic and brutish and be prone to fighting.
Happens. Hi.
But go ahead.
Just on that note, we should all put whiskey on our doorsteps like for the fairies.
Yes, indeed we should.
Absolutely.
Because we're going into Baltimore. Yes, absolutely. I
Well, we'll
agree,
do that.
100%. But it's that kind of tradition that, I think is why I like Titanic. They're really bringing out those intermingling of stories and how whiskey came about and how we used to make it. Before chemistry and stuff was known, we did it all by heart, hand, and eye. And it's that kind of tradition of passing on those skills like they did in the shipyard. Boys were apprenticed from 13 to 18 and they passed the craft on. They didn't learn it in books. They learned it by hand, by heart and eye. And I think Damien's heart is in the right place, especially when you sample this 8-year-old.
I'd say so. I'd say so, absolutely. We've got a 42% spirit here, folks. What do we got on the nose, first of all? Oh, you know what? Ever since that note from LSC, I can smell the tropical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember pineapple cubes when they were kids in their little sweetie bag? Little yellow cubes? Yeah. Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, there's a very tropical.
And do you know what? And again, it's mad what a flavour note can do. I identified more, slight bit of mace, a little bit of mint, more dark fruits at first. And then over time, as it's got warmer, I started to identify the tropical fruit in this a bit more.
It's like papaya.
Papaya, definitely.
Papaya's beautiful.
I'm with you there.
Here, how rich are you?
Yeah.
I don't eat fruit, I just know no.
Folks, we're on our second to last one. This is the last whiskey we taste for a new make. Can I just say, folks, as well, before we go into that, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. We've got one more, don't worry, we're still going to chat to you, we're still going to blabber on. But just for the last time, folks, on our whiskies at least, Slancher. Good
Slancher.
Oh, man.
That's a nice whiskey.
Talk to me, folks. Where are we? At home as well. Please dive in. Yeah. Yeah. White pepper, black pepper.
It's actually a bit of both.
Yeah.
So it's like the white pepper is like its base level.
Yeah.
There's almost Szechuan pepper.
You can almost feel the coarseness of the pepper.
And that almost tingle that Szechuan gives you. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that. I love that. How are we doing at the back, folks? How are we doing for tasting? I'm finished. What do we think of this one, folks? Quite mellow. Mellow's in like, so it's not like fighting forward, or is it just it's all mingled together quite nicely? Smooth. Easy.
Maybe in the mash, like bring it up.
Yeah.
Way before the two like punctures of fiber.
The pot stills got more bite, more punch. This one more smooth. Got the mellowness. Yeah.
Very well rounded.
Perfect. Exactly. Okay, so everything's got like its own place basically, depending on what you enjoy your whiskies. Beautiful stuff. How are we on this side, folks? How do we find number 7? Number 6? Sorry, beg your pardon. Nose is better than palate. Okay.
It's very smooth.
These are more
Too easy to drink.
Too easy to drink.
very juicy.
Not very complex.
Juicy. I find people who use French bottles.
yeah.
Okay. Absolutely brilliant. Again, like I say, this is the thing about having these conversations. I find that people who enjoy like an IPA enjoy this quite nicely. The two go together side by side quite nice. Folks at home, let me know what you think.
So what does this typically retail at? Or?
Maybe 60. I think have we decided on it yet?
I haven't had that fed through to me.
Just gets tasted over.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's still a few kind of things going on with, the markets at the minute are a bit crazy. And just those delays as well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to put a figure on it.
Yep.
So, that's above my remit.
Sorry, can I ask maybe change the question? Is this a commercially available?
This will be the next thing that's. The question is it commercially available?
So, a lot of this is to come.
Yeah.
And so it's like the promise of where we're going.
Exactly, yeah. We've done a lot of promising today, you know what I mean? But yeah, about that. But yeah, folks, talk about this. This will be our next release online as well. Like I said, not online just yet, but when it does come, your TD20 will still work. Make sure that you talk to us, and we will obviously get that for you guys in the Irish Whisky Society. But yes, this will be the next thing to be released. At the moment, take it on a basis that we usually increase by tens in terms of pounds. So if the pot still, 5-year pot still retails at £45, think of it like this. Do you know what I mean? It might just be a bit the other side of it.
Yeah, I mean, like our 7.5 was $79.95, but it came with a bottle of stout to compare with it because we teamed up.
It was a limited release as well.
It was a limited release.
Yeah.
Like, so, that to me was a bargain because you were getting a 7.5 for £68.
Yeah.
This 8-year-old, I figured about probably 79, maybe 75, something like that. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see.
3% in ABV rather than pounds.
Oh yeah, I know. You love a cash strength, don't you?
So the question was, increase the price by ABV.
I don't mind the price increases, honestly.
Yeah, ABV's there as well.
Well, taste I think is the most thing that most people are looking.
Yeah.
I like most things, but they're a little bit lacking.
Just that punch? Or something we can talk about down the road as well. The special editions, releases, that kind of thing.
So just repeat that, sorry, we did have it.
Sorry, we were talking about the ABVs, any opportunities to come to like cash strengths, that kind of opportunity going forward. What I would say is that's going to be more than likely with our releases from Titanic Distillers. Keep an eye out, those higher ABVs will start to come through in that sense. At the moment, we're trying to do that sort of that thing where we are holding that ground, between 46, between 40, do you know what I mean? That sort of good appeal. But when it comes to those cask strength things, again, at the distillery, we can find them.
There's a few bottle your own sort of cask strengths. We have a couple of 42.8, but they're so limited run, it's hardly worthwhile putting them online. Yeah. And it's also a way to bring you in to sort of see what we're doing, to appreciate the uniqueness.
Where our mind is, what we're looking to do, But like I say, we don't have a full script of what we're going to do with our own liquid. We're going to taste it in a second, but I would say those higher ABV points, that's what we want to look at.
Yeah.
We can have a vote at the end for people's favourites.
Perfect. Wonderful stuff. That sounds good to me. Let's do that in a second.
Yeah.
I want to break down the composition of this. Does anyone want to hazard a guess to some of the casks that are involved in the single malts? Sherry? Which sherry do we think? Oloroso? Yep. And? And?
Bourbon.
Bourbon
is it, but that's a given. That's a given.
Yep, bourbon. Another sherry?
Is it PX?
The PX, yeah, absolutely. Those same Bogle casks that were in the pot still, they made a reappearance in this as well. So what we have, folks, is
seven. Be light though, right? So well, there is actually that element of the PX pot still.
Yeah, exactly that. So what we've got 70% double distilled. So the 70% double distilled is all American oak barrels. Now, I'm going to come back to this point in a second because I need you to taste the new make first before I reiterate that. But it's to iterate what we get in our new make. And the 10% of that is triple distilled malt in new charred oak barrels. 10% is triple distilled malt in Oloroso sherry casks, and 10% is triple distilled malt in Pedro Ximénez sherry casks, which have previously held Pinot Noir. So a great makeup. At 42% as well, folks.
Just a question, going back to something you said 5 minutes ago, possibly. Did you mention that was in the single malt, that was a combination of double and triple distilled?
That's right. Yep. So we got 7. That's okay. So we're just talking about the breakdown of the double and triple again. So 70% is double distilled Irish malts, all first fill American oak barrels. 30% is the mix of triple distilled, and within that 30%, we have 10% triple distilled in new charred oak barrels, 10% triple distilled in Oloroso sherry, and 10% triple distilled in the same Pedro Ximénez casks that are in number 5.
So are you currently doing both double and triple?
We are currently doing triple. What we will do is double after that. But what I want to bring you on to is the weights that you would get in a double distilled malt. And it's a perfect segue into our new make, realistically. So is everybody ready for the new make, by the way? So I'm sorry, my friend, just later, I'm not avoiding the question. It's just more, it does feed in very beautifully into what we're about to talk about. Okay, so bear with me here, and folks at home as well, if you've got any questions, please shout them in, and we'll go from there. So the new make. Okay, so why do I keep talking about this double distilled malt that is in the single malts? It's because of this. We apply Damien to our whiskey. Okay, so Damien is an ex-brewer. He's got very much this encyclopedic knowledge of all manner of things, particularly yeast. Okay. The whiskey we produce at Titanic Distillers, which we've been producing since November 2023, which will be whiskey in November this year, can't wait.